The trachea is also known as the windpipe. The trachea, it's the only route from the oral and nasal cavities to the gas exchanging cul-de-sacs of the alveoli in the lungs. The trachea is anterior to the esophagus, and this hollow tube is unlike the esophagus in that the trachea is held open, whereas the esophagus collapses. It's held open by these C-shaped cartilage rings. This makes sense that it's supported to be open all of the time because you can't live without air. These C-shaped cartilage rings, which I have colored in blue in my picture, they wrap around the trachea, giving it the ability to stay open, but at the same time, they provide flexibility and mobility within the thoracic cavity. Remember, your thoracic cavity is constantly changing shape and pressure due to the heart, due to the lungs expanding, and the trachea is okay with all of that movement. If you have taken one of my classes before, you have most likely seen this slide. I use this histological picture often because it's a really good one. The esophagus's lumen and mucosa are wavy as it collapses with no food on it, while the lumen of the trachea, which is at the top of this picture, is held open by the C-shaped cartilage ring. Upon closer upon closer inspection, it is in fact hyaline cartilage with chondrocytes trapped in lacuna that are carved out of the gelatinous matrix. Hyaline cartilage likes to take up that dark purple stain, just like mucosa likes to take up that dark purple stain. Hyaline cartilage also has a glassy appearance to its matrix, giving it that prefix hya, which means glassy. If these cartilage rings were an O shape instead of a C shape, they could possibly get squished close as a huge food bolus passes through the posterior esophagus. A C shape never actually fully closes. Pack animals, like dogs and wolves, and actually people, will take enormous bites of food as they all compete for a limited food supply. So all mammals, they too have a C-shaped cartilage ring so that they don't choke as they take two big bites. The mucosa of the trachea is pseudostratified ciliated columnar epithelium. There are just a few at the bottom right corner of this picture, but there are a couple mucus cells which are scattered in among the epithelium. There are fewer mucus cells here than there were in the nasal mucosa, which was also pseudostratified ciliated columnar. The cilia are on the apical surface of the cells or the sides facing the lumen, and just as in the nasal cavity, these cilia trap particulates before the air descends into your bronchi. These purple bubbles here, these, are on the border between the dense, irregularish submucosa and a very thin layer of smooth muscle around the trachea. These are submucosal glands, these little roundish things here. Somewhere, there's a duct that connects these glands to the surface of the trachea, allowing them to spill their contents out onto the lumen. Submucosal glands contain cells that are very similar to those in salivary glands that produce mucus. So they're big and kind of clear. There are also simple cuboidal cells lining these glands, and they secrete a much more watery substance, kind of like the serous cells in saliva. But there are very few of those cuboidal cells compared to how many mucus cells there are. Before I begin here, I am not making this up, okay? The mucociliatory escalator is part of the respiratory defense system. I am not making this up. And it uses a coordinated movement of cilia to transport mucus and any other trapped particulates upward in an effort to prevent invasion of a pathogen or infections. Particles get trapped by the mucus that's lining the trachea and other airways. And then all of the cilia wave in unison to move the particles upward to your pharynx. And then you cough. And immediately after you cough, you swallow that mucus down into your digestive system. That is not a conscious thing. That's what unconsciously happens when you cough. And then your stomach is able to break up a lot of any pathogens with the 1 to 2 pH acidity that it has. Smoking damages the cilia and it lowers the mucus production, leading to a smoker's cough. A smoker does not have this like nice fluid movement of cilia. Well, there's no cilia, and the fluid is definitely not moving very fluid-like. So a smoker will have a hacking cough as they forcibly cough up the mucus that is not liquidy or watery at all. If a smoker quits, the cilia can regenerate within a few days, as does the mucus production, goes back to normal within a few days.